Oh, I'm live? Hi everyone, I'm xGamxHQ, and today I'll be reading the patch notes for Elder Scrolls Online, Update 38, and Necrom. So we got a lot to get through. I'm going to be only going over the combat changes, so we're going to get started. So Gina has written the patch notes for us, and get started. Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Online v9.0.5 and our brand new chapter Necrom. Journey to the remote Telvanni Peninsula enclave of the impervious wizards of House Telvanni before losing yourself in the winding labyrinths of Apocrypha, domain of Daedric Prince of Forbidden Knowledge, Hermaeus Mora. In addition to exploring the mysteries and wonders of the Telvanni Peninsula and Apocrypha, this chapter introduces the new class, the Arcanist. And in order to ensure everyone can create an Arcanist, we're giving one free character slot. It's a common thing with every single patch. Great job. Draw on the strength of 2 new companions to help you on your journeys, including repelling the dark forces at work in the Bastion Anemic world events. For those seeking a true challenge, make sure to explore Sanity's Edge, a new 12-player trial located in the southeast of Telvanni Peninsula. Necrom also includes several new item sets for you to obtain, new antiquities, many new collectibles, and even new Tales of Tribute patron deck. For you housing enthusiasts, there are 2 new homes and lots of new furnishings. Update 38 adds several new quality of life features, including ability to favorite collectibles, filleting multiple stacks of fish, that's a huge one, some additional reset timer changes, and making it so your friend Stuga will no longer chase you down. Honestly, worst change ever. Can't wait for you to jump in this chapter, which is approximately 5.56 gigabytes in size. Enjoy. Alright, now let's get straight down into the new sets. Before that though, we'll actually go over the new class real quick, the Arcanist. So owning the Necrom chapter will allow you to channel the eldritch powers of Apocrypha as an Arcanist. These scholarly spellcasters channel secret runes and abyssal spells to destroy their enemies, heal their allies, and defend against any foe. The Arcanist features a unique mechanic where some abilities can spend or build crux. Each crux you have, up to 3 maximum, will either passively increase your capabilities in combat or add further capabilities that expend crux. Crux gives Arcanists a unique gameplay experience not yet seen in ESO and offers great variety in gameplay, whether you're into trials, questing, or PvP. You'll see how much crux you currently have by floating runes circling your character. Great addition to the class, honestly. It's very visually pleasing as well. You can only generate crux while in combat. However, the crux remains with you outside of combat. It did in the PTS. We've also added a new UI feature to help aim your Fate Carver and remedy cascade abilities. The new aim assist function is found in the accessibility panel in your options, which gives your targeting a little help at 100% value. This can be reduced all the way to 0 if desired. Great change as well. Alright, now let's get on to the new sets, starting with the Overland sets. The Vex Duality, a light armor set. 2 to 4 pieces is Magicka, Stamina Magicka, and the 5-piece set is after staying on 1 bar for 15 seconds, gain 6,636 Magicka and Stamina when bar swapping. Should be a decent beginner set for supports, but honestly, once you reach later into your cycle as a player, once you get a little bit more experience, you're swapping bars quite a lot, especially with the dynamic rotation, debuffs, buffs, all that kind of stuff. You probably won't see the benefits from this set too much. Could be good in PvP with certain block builds, but Kimona Tong, assuming that's pronounced right. Medium armor, so 2 to 4 pieces is all weapon and spell damage, and the 5-piece is on gaining kill XP from a monster, gain 1 weapon and spell damage for every 50 XP the monster is worth for 30 seconds. It stacks up to 540, and it is not affected by XP boosting effects. this should be a decent leveling set. Before we used to just basically use Hunting for Age, Julianos, throw that on everything, and call it a day. This should actually be a pretty decent set for leveling up. Or leveling champion points in general, I should say. We'll be testing that as well. And I'll have a review up on the YouTube channel. Adamant Lurker, heavy armor set, health recovery, maximum health recovery, and gain 1505 health recovery while you're standing still. Movement abilities such as Bolt Escape or Critical Charge count as standing still. I assume Power Bash as well, or I shouldn't say Power Bash, I should say Charge. With the Sword and Board, honestly, don't really see a whole lot of use for this set. Health recovery has been a lackluster stat since forever, so maybe I'm wrong, but probably not. Crafted set, Shattered Fate. So this one is another basically one piece or one set 12-piece bonus. Not quite like Druid's Braid, but I would like to see it act more like Druid's Braid. Just we'd have a little bit more flexibility with one-piece sets. Like right now we have Trainee and Druid's Braid, and they both just give health on top of like all the monster sets we have. If the penetration was actually split between 1 and 5-piece sets, it would equal out to about 1600 offensive penetration. Could be a lot better in that way. But anyway, the 5-piece bonus. The 5-piece bonus adds 7,918 offensive penetration. 10-piece bonus adds 687 weapon and spell damage. The 12-piece bonus adds 1528 critical chance. This item set only grants the bonuses on 5, 10, 12. You can wear as many as you want. Like I said, I think it would be a lot better if it acted more like Druid's Braid, and it just cut the bonuses. Well, between 5, cut that in half, or rather in 5s, and then 10s and 5s, and then the 12-piece bonus in 2, and then scale it accordingly. Telvanni Efficiency adds stamina, health, magicka. While you have a living companion, reduce the cooldown of their abilities by 50%. While you do not have a living companion, reduce the cost of magicka, stamina, and health abilities and ultimate abilities by 8%. This should be a pretty good solo player set. A lot of solo players like to run around with companions, and this set for them should actually be pretty good. Seeker Synthesis gives health, magic, and stamina, and then 5-piece bonus when you cast an ability that costs resources while in combat, you reduce your potion cooldown by 0.5 seconds, and this effect can occur once every 0.5 seconds. This set here could be a decent beginner tank set. However, where I see this set shining more is on high actions per second or actions per minute builds. Maybe a PvP build with an Argonian. This could increase your sustain substantially, especially if you put potion speed and chance on your jewelry. I mean, your potion is going to be ready like within seconds if you have a high APM build. The trial sets, Peace and Serenity, adds crit chance, minor slayer, weapon and spell damage. The perfected version gives weapon and spell damage. And then the 5-piece bonus is while you're standing still, you gain 465 weapon and spell damage. While you're moving, you gain 203 health, magic, and stamina recovery. Movement abilities such as Bolt Escape, Critical Charge still count as standing still. So for this set, it should be pretty good when you're standing still. However, it doesn't really compare to the options we have now, like Whirl of Depths and Pillar of Nirn, even Reliquin. You know, a lot of those options are still going to outparse this set, especially in areas where you're moving around even slightly. Next is Ansel's Torment. It's a medium armor set, adds 657 crit chance, and then Minor Slayer, Offensive Penetration, Perfected version, gives critical chance, and then the 5-piece bonus is increase your damage done by monsters by 7%, and when you interrupt an enemy, you increase your damage done against monsters by an additional 7%. The key wording here is against monsters. Definitely not in PvP, and I don't see it having much use in PvE either, especially because the buff only lasts for about 10 seconds, and 7% is not great. 14% would be great, but that 10% or that 10 second there, the uptime on that 14% is going to be pretty low, because that relies too heavily on bashing. Almost, but not quite. Speaking of almost but not quite, Transformative Hope. Healing done, minor aegis, magical recovery, and then 5-piece bonus on perfected gives the healing done as well. The 5-piece bonus is while in combat. When you heal yourself or an ally that is below 50% health, you ignite a spark of hope within them for 3 seconds. If they are above 90% health when it effect ends, you and the ally gain major heroism for 15 seconds. And this effect can occur every 20 seconds per target. Now, on paper, this set doesn't actually sound that bad. However, the fact that it requires your group member to be below 50% health to actually trigger, sets like Spell Power Cure give the major courage buff. I don't really foresee that going away anytime soon unless you pair it with Olorima. Even still, I don't see many trial groups comfortably letting their DPS get below 50% health just to activate this set. Test of Resolve gives armor, minor aegis, armor, and then more armor for the perfected version, and the 5-piece bonus. When you take damage while under 35% health, your resolve is tested. So, while you are below 35% health, if you are also below 50% stamina, you restore full health, magicka, and stamina, while also gaining major protection and major aegis for 10 seconds. Not bad for those looking for a solid tank set for defensive. Maybe you're in a prog group, then you're struggling with a boss. This set could actually work pretty well there. Moving on. If you're above 35% stamina, you become a beacon of hope for 20 seconds, causing your major and minor buffs to also grant major aegis for 10 seconds. So this would be pretty decent on a warden in a prog group, you know, because you got your AoE expansive cloak or icy fortress that applies major resolve to everybody. So as soon as you tap that, you're also giving them major aegis. So really good in a prog group setting. However, I would like to see them bring sets, something like this, to dungeons, mainly the minor aegis buff, especially because minor aegis, or rather, minor berserk and major berserk is being given out a lot more frequently now. I would like to see some dungeon sets get the love of getting minor aegis as a 3-piece bonus. Even if it's just a monster set, honestly, because there's a lot of people that, a lot of players that like to just do dungeons, not really into trial content, but we'll see. Moving on to the mythic items. Velothi Mage's necklace. So this set gives a offensive penetration and increases your damage done to monsters by 15%, grant minor force, and reduce your light and heavy attacks by 99%. This set here should be pretty decent on somebody who still wants 2 bars but doesn't really like light attack. So if you just spam abilities, should be pretty half decent. Esoteric Environment Greaves, heavy legs. While you are above 50% stamina, reduce your damage taken by 50% and lose 968 stamina whenever you take direct damage up to once every 0.5 seconds. 0.25 seconds. This stacks with other damage mitigation sources such as block. Now this should be pretty good for PvP scenarios. In PvE, however, especially on a tank, the fact that it will basically destroy your stamina when you're above 50% stamina, especially in content that has rapid hits. What comes to mind immediately is Teleria on VDSR. That Maelstrom mechanic, it would absolutely wipe your stamina as it does while you're blocking anyway. And this doesn't even require you to be blocking. It just straight up takes the stamina with when you get hit every 0.25 seconds. So, you know, that's like 4k stamina gone per second. So, we'll see how great this set actually works in a PvP environment. Cryptcan investments. It's a light chest. You can no longer cast ultimate abilities. Instead, casting an ultimate ability transfers your ultimate resource to your living group members, divided equally among them, and you gain minor heroism at all times. So developer comment, Cryptcan investment, replace your ultimate abilities. You cannot proc other sets that rely on casting abilities, or ultimates, such as Lamia's Song or Balorg. Makes sense. This mythic could see some trial use. Right now, Pearls of El Nefeh is pretty good. Symphony of Blades is a staple among a lot of groups. With the fact that Claw of Yolnahkriin is going to be butted out due to the Arcanist ability in a lot of optimized trial groups, I could see a healer wearing Cryptcan investments to share ultimate and have pillagers on an off tank or something. And yeah, this set should see some usage in trials. Now, the new mythics and antiquities, we'll go over it real quick. As described above, there are 3 new mythics available to discover through antiquities along with other antiquities. A glyphic, music box, and Necrom alchemy station can be discovered from antiquities. Leads for 2 antique maps, one of Telvanni and one of Apocrypha. Alright, now that's all of the new sets that are coming in Necrom. And now we will find combat and gameplay. Alrighty. It's the most exciting time of the year, our big yearly chapter release. It's time around. We're sticking to what we've been learning over the years, where we mainly keep large-scale changes out of chapter updates so you can focus more on meeting new content. Great change. I'd like to see sweeping changes go away altogether, except for obviously finishing the hybridization that they started a couple years ago. Anyway, and especially so since this new year has the Arcanist as the 7th playable class. That being said, we still have a handful of adjustments and fixes coming this time around, mainly focused on bug squashing and targeted adjustments based on feedback we've seen in updates 36 and 37. One of the main callouts we hope to make life easier for our courageous warriors is the update to melee attack range being a default of 7 meters rather than 5. This does affect DKs a little bit since that was unique to them. However, we'll get to that later. Some of you have been around for long enough to know that this was our original standard, which changed quite a while back, but the game has evolved quite a bit since then, and we're confident we can move back to this experience to better align with our combat pacing and feel. This extra 2 meters won't be astronomical. It makes more difference than you could think, especially on a tank, but we hope that it reduces the likelihood of missing melee attacks and high mobility encounters and gives those who stay up close and personal a few more precious moments to react to incoming threats. In addition to this, we have some class adjustments coming in primarily focused on Templar and Sorcerer, and the Templar changes are nice, which we saw a lot of discussion on over the past few months. While the change list below won't touch every topic or problem space we've seen, we hope the adjustments help bolster these classes' strength in the right places without having them go overboard. One main bit of feedback we saw for Templar was that it doesn't feel impactful in their ability to jump into the fray and hold their own. That is true. So we've looked at improving some of their defensive capabilities to better enable their offensive windows without needing to constantly turtle up as much as they do. To accomplish this, we're allowing Rune Focus Heal to partially enable at all times and gain Strength when stationary, to help the class gain some staying power while on the move. Speaking of on the move, we're also adding major protection to their main movement skill, the Focus Charge, to help enable a better offensive window when they dive headfirst into the fray. Sorcerers, on the other hand, have been commenting on how they lack the access to a robust amount of major and minor buffs and debuffs within their class toolkit. Absolutely true, which we agree with. While we won't be adding a ton of access in this update, we're starting by sweetening the dark deals they make by adding Minor Berserk to Dark Exchange and its morphs to help reward the risk of activating it and make their spell slinging truly a thing to fear. We'll also be making their volatile familiars a little less volatile and making the stun from the activate only happen once and sooner than the activation, so it feels more controlled and deliberate, while also increasing the chance it applies charge status effect, making minor vulnerability more reliable to be active. So it basically works a lot more like the Warden does now as well. I should say the Warden Arctic Blast. We'll have other changes to item sets and some minor class tweaks. The Necromancer's big damage increase on Flame Skull's third cast, but this covers our main focus of the update of the shiny new toys you'll be getting between the Arcanist and new sets. Stay safe out there, adventurers. We hope to see you on the roads in Tamriel. Combat and abilities. General. Fix an issue where swapping bars while blocking and out of resources, while under the effects of Trifocus or Stormreaver's Cohort, could disable block until you dropped block and reactivated it. Fix an issue where sprinting while heavy attacking could lock you in sprint. Melee abilities with a range of 5 meters have been increased back to 7 meters to aid in their use while moving and offer breathing room reliability in landing. Developer comment. We're reverting the changes. Yes, we already read this. Far less frustrating. Yeah, we already read this. Fix an issue where you could become stuck resurrecting if you were hit by some staggers while resurrecting. Fix an issue where transitioning between zones or relogging could cause your current health to be lower than your max health when you had certain sources of max health bonuses, such as from champion points. Fix an issue where sources of invisibility from things such as Shadow Cloak or potions could still allow you to be detected by other players in some cases, such as where you were wearing too many pieces of heavy armor or when players had increased to stealth detection. That change in particular is going to be an interesting one, especially since stealth detection is a core part of combating Nightblade gankers, especially detection potions. That's kind of the entire point of them, is to detect players. However, if this is just a bug where people are being detected for no reason, great change. However, if it's to combat stealth detection methods, we only really have one good effective one, because let's be honest, Camouflaged Hunter and Mage Light aren't great. The AoEs are very small, so I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Fixed numerous issues where corpse-consuming abilities could or couldn't interact with corpses that had suffered unique death animations, such as disintegrating into a pile of ash. Corpse-consuming abilities now interact with any corpse that is consumable in nature, regardless of how the owner met their demise. Great change for Necros and Templars. Fix an issue where the health desync could occur when you use some specific abilities in specific combination very specifically. Seems very specific. Fix a typo for the Occult Hierophant in Skill Advisor. Fix an issue with the Skill Advisor having passive learned too early. Alright, now buffs and debuffs. Empower. Reduce this bonus from 80 down to 70%. So this change, not as impactful as a lot of people are making out to be. It's not a 10% damage decrease. Not even in the slightest. Maybe this would affect you by probably 2 to 5% at the most, if that. Since we started working on heavy attack build viability in the past year, we've seen a massive surge in their use, which is absolutely fantastic for the trial community. While we're happy to see these builds being ran, we're also seeing these builds inch a little bit too much close to the high-end builds, with how much more simplified they are, and in some rare cases they're outperforming a standard build. The proper solution to that is to increase the viability of the other builds. We're cutting down the damage bonus here ever so slightly in hopes that when you have Empower with a bunch of other heavy attack bonus sets, the numbers are still nice and juicy, but not as close to the full-on light attack build. Alright, Dragon Knight. Ardent Flame, Inferno. Fix an issue where the visual effects from this ability and its morphs would not disappear when their owner became undetectable with sources such as Sneak or Invisibility. Great change. Draconic Power, Dark Talons, Burning Talons morph specifically. This morph's damage over time effect now will only apply to the target, similarly to Acid Spray. To help the skill shine more in AoE situations where you are actively refreshing the skill. It'll still continue to stack from multiple targets. Reduce the damage over time by approximately 27%, but increase the duration to 5 seconds. So it should remain the same amount of damage roughly, and the fact that it still continues to stack from multiple targets, great changes to Burning Talons. Should have a little bit of a sustain increase, not by much, but just a little bit on a DK damage dealer. Elder Dragon, this passive no longer extends the range of melee attacks by 2 meters, as this now once again is their standard range. This passive now increases your health recovery only per Draconic Power ability slotted. Now I just want to take a second here to mention that class passes, especially on the base 4, are very lackluster now compared to Arcanist especially. I would love to see changes to the base 4 class passes, a complete rework. Obviously some are strong, but in this case here, it increases your health recovery by 129 to 259. Not a great class passive. Do I have an immediate solution? No. Is it my job? No. Necromancer. Flame Skull increases the damage bonus of third cast for this ability and its morphs to 50%, up from 20%. Great change. Nightblade, Assassination, Deathstroke. Increase the duration of this ultimate morph debuffs to 8 seconds, up from 6. So the increased damage done to the person you put this against, which is a 20% damage increase, will last an extra 2 seconds. Great for PvE, great for PvP Nightblades. For the Masters of Assassination, the Nightblade class is a little bit further behind in single target damage than we'd like. We're increasing the uptime on this debuff to help Nightblades get more DPS and kill potential on priority targets. Shadow, Path of Darkness. The effects from this ability and its morphs will now apply more consistently rather than having different behaviors for line of sight rules across them. Summon Shade. Fix an issue where this ability and the Dark Shade morph could return as ranged abilities in some cases. Failed Strike. Concealed Weapon. This morph now grants its damage done bonus for 10 seconds if Major Expedition was active while it was cast, rather than for 5 seconds when a Major Expedition ends or was refreshed, to ensure this skill is used actively rather than passively. The damage done still operates the same for leaving Sneak or Invisibility. Could see this become more of a spammable for Magblades even more. Sorcerer. So the Dark Deal morph of Dark Exchange. This skill now grants Minor Berserk and Minor Force for the 10 seconds it restores resources. These abilities are meant to be the class's primary resource to restore skills. And while they do that just fine, they don't offer any other reason to run, leaving them feeling a little bit behind when compared to other class resource skills like restoring focus or pull niche. To sweeten the dark deals occurring, we're adding some named buffs for the duration to help the class reinforce their spell slinging nature, while making sure we don't push over the top high-end damage production when consuming with group compositions. I would like to see both morphs just last for 20 seconds. For example, Resolving Vigor gives a heal for 4 seconds and then Minor Resolve for 20 seconds. I'd like to see the heal last for the duration that it does, the 10 seconds, and then the buffs still stick on us for the 20 seconds that it does on the base. Negate Magic fixed an issue with this ultimate and its morphs where they could not dispel another version of themselves previously. Negate Magic would only dispel Absorption Field or Suppression Field, but failed to dispel an enemy Negate Magic, or any permutation where the ultimate were of the same version. Now any version of the ultimate will actively dispel any version of the ultimates they are placed on if they are from sourced from enemies. Daedric Summoning. Summon Storm Atronach. The synergy from this ultimate and its morphs, Charged Lightning, now grants Major Berserk for 10 seconds up from 8, and increase the amount of targets the synergy will target to 12 up from 6. Massive buff to summon Storm Atronach. DPS for sure. Sork tanks, Sork healers. Excellent change all around. Developer comment. Since we've been slowly improving access to highly coveted Major Berserk buff type, since we're pretty generous with Major Protection, we wanted to make sure this source stands out in the pack as special case and reason to consider bringing a sorcerer or two to group compositions without making them feel mandatory. It's true, my prog group we have a Sork off tank and it's even better now. Summon Unstable Familiar. The Volatile Familiar morph. This morph's special attack now only stuns on the second tick rather than the fourth and final ticks to make the stun less volatile in nature and help reduce passive feeling of the skill. To make up for this loss, we're increasing the chance of applying the charge status effect from the special active's damage to 5% per tick up to 1. Templar. Focus Charge, Explosive Charge. This morph now also extends the duration, the base skill now grants Major Protection for 4 seconds after reaching your target. And the Explosive Charge morph extends the duration of Major Protection to 10 seconds. Great change, Major Protection, great buff especially on a Templar now. After the adjustments to Templar's damage to make sure they were more in line with other classes, we've seen them drop down in effectiveness in PvP situations in some areas. Rather than bloating out their damage again, we're trying to help them stay in the fray longer and keep up the pressure by adding some defensive bonuses when they dive into foes, helping them go all in before needing to peel back up a turtle. This is actually pretty good. Good of a change, especially Major Protection on a charge ability. Don't know if we will see much use of it in PvE in a tank situation, but we'll see. Dawn's Wrath. Backlash. This ability and its morph now need 60% less total damage needed to reach their final values. We're lowering the amount of damage needed for these abilities to reach their big boom numbers, as they needed values that were essentially impossible to achieve in PvP to get their maximum power. So, more burst damage ability in PvP situations for Templars, always great. The damage required will still be challenging to reach in PvP environments, and in most cases, where opponents are taking countermeasure to deny or mitigate the applier's pressure, the damage will still not reach the maximum amount. We are doing this intentionally, so Templars retain a weakness in some capacity. We'll continue to monitor this value and adjust accordingly, if necessary, after we get more data from live servers, with how this change interacts with the other buffs the class received in this update. Solar Flare. This ability in its morphs now also grants Sun Sphere for 5 seconds after casting, increasing your damage done with class abilities by 5%. Solar Barrage. This morph also extends the duration of Sun Sphere to 20 seconds. Pretty much a necessary skill to run on a Templar now, especially since Jabs is basically the only skill you ever need on a Templar. With these changes, you're probably going to see a Templar PvP build reach the website very soon, and if it happens and you're watching this later, that link will be in the video description below. Restoring Light. Lightweaver fixed an issue where this passive's ultimate could apply to the caster rather than only allies, as its tooltip states. Rune Focus. This ability and its Morris now heal you for 2% of your max health every second they are active, rather than 4.5% of your max health while you are standing within the rune. So, kind of a nerf, basically. However, you can just move around. Would have liked to see the change to keep the old amount of max health, but it is what it is. At least we have mobility now. Increase the healing effect by 200% while you're standing in the rune, resulting in a 33% increase overall while in the rune. Fix an issue where the heal from these abilities were not properly considered a restoring light heal. Fix an issue where these abilities were not considered as healing abilities in some cases. So that should actually work a lot better with the passives from the restoring light, at least. After the changes to these abilities to granting them healing, we've seen a slight improvement in their ability to defend their sanctified grounds, but we're noticing the class really suffers in the majority of content with mobility. While the class is meant to feel empowered while locked to an area, we're trying to help them feel less clung to an area by offering some passive healing in between and doubling down, well, tripling in this case, when they decide to mark their fighting area. Warden, Animal Companion, Scorch. Fixed an issue with this ability in Smurfs where they could fail to hit larger monsters in some cases. Winter's Embrace, Arctic Wind, Arctic Blast morph. The stun from this morph now fires after 2-second delay rather than immediately. Recasting this ability before the delay completes will reset the delay timer. Fix an issue where the stun ignored line of sight rules. This change here could be beneficial in PvP. It's also kind of damaging. The fact that it doesn't immediately stun isn't great, but if you time it properly with a 2-second delay, you could get even more massive burst. I'm thinking the second proc of the shocks with a wrecking blow from a two-hander. Procs at the same time as a stun could be pretty lethal. The burst ability on a Warden is already lethal, so we'll see. One Hand and Shield, low slash. This ability and its more secondary effects now last 15 seconds, up from 12. Great buff to tanks. Shield Wall, fix an issue where this ultimate and its morph's block functionality would become lost after sprinting. Dual Wield, Flurry, fix an issue where with this ability and its morphs where they could sometimes, ever so incredibly rare, only hit 3 times when weaving in extremely rapid succession. We're talking within a 1 millisecond time span, so that is pretty rare. Let's fix now. Bow, Arrow Spray, Acid Spray morph. Increase the damage per tick of the damage over time effect of this morph by approximately 28%. The damage over time from this morph will now always apply to the target rather than only when they do not already have the dot active. Increase the duration to 5 seconds up from 4. World Vampire, fix an issue where feeding on hostile enemies at stage 4 could cause their health bar to become desynced. Racial, Argonian Resourceful, fix an issue where the heal from this passive was not considered a proc. This should still work in non-CP, non-proc. I don't see them removing a racial passive for the sake of PvP, especially when, if they were to do this to Argonian, they would also have to do it to the Nord's ultimate. They would have to do it to Redguard stamina restoration, Orc's health restoration. So chances are this still works in PvP. Down to itemization and item sets. So general, fix an issue where numerous set items can fail to show their additional telegraphs to enemies in certain situations, which includes the following: Auroran's Thunder, Frozen Watcher, Lady Maligda, Leeching Plate, Plague Slinger, Celestrix, Thurvikin, Dark Convergence, and Whirl of the Depths. Dark Convergence is a great one for PvP. I don't know how many times that a Dark Convergence went off with no AoE underneath it. Increase the bonus detection size of detection potions to 43 meters up from 20 meters, so they continue to reveal invisible targets at the same distance as previous iterations. Fantastic. Ability altering weapons. Frenzy, Momentum, and Spectral Cloak. These sets will now only apply their effects if you cast the respective ability requirements while in combat. Makes sense. Can't pre-buff too hard with these abilities anymore. I do wonder if they will remain while out of combat, as long as you keep Frenzy, Momentum, or Spectral Cloak up with maximum stacks. Crafted, Death's Winds. Fix an issue where this set had a target cap of 6, despite the tooltip stating all enemies. Morkildin. Fix an issue where this set's summoned sword would sheath itself after you left combat. Too many samurai flicks, I suppose. Old Growth Brewer. This set now requires you to be in combat to gain its effects. Order's Wrath. Fix an issue where this set could not be used in no-proc campaigns, so Order's Wrath can now be used in no-proc campaigns. Fantastic. Vassari's Tutelage. Fix an issue where this set was reducing the cost of sprint. Dungeon and Arena. Crusader. Better optimized the visual effects for this set to reduce the impact on client performance. Runecarver's Blade. Fix an issue where the set did not activate off Hurricane. Scavenging Demise. Fix an issue where the set could trigger while applying poisons that dealt no damage. Stormmaster. This set's bonus damage with light and heavy attacks now only works against monsters. Reduce the duration of the bonus to 8 seconds, down from 12 seconds. Reduce the cooldown to 5 seconds, down from 10 seconds. So as long as you're still doing heavy attacks, this shouldn't affect you too much. However, it's still a nerf no matter which way you look at it. Monster Masks. Ladythorn. Fix an issue where the synergy granted from this set, Sanju and Burst, did not obey the line of sight rules. Noon Attack. This set now applies 40% snares to enemies hit rather than stacking snare from 25 to 100%, so it's just more consistent now. Major Brittle now applies on enemies that have damaged 4 or more times by the set rather than only on the 4th hit. Fix an issue where the snare from this set could stack with other snares and could cause enemies to become unable to move. Okay, so more consistent, however, doesn't stack with other snares. It's fine, I guess. Azozin's Inferno. Fix an issue where this set's armor could fail to reduce damage against procs. Fix an issue where this set could proc off procs. Procception. Fix an issue where this set's armor did not appear in the character sheet, despite being active. Scourge Harvester. Fix an issue where this set did not obey line of sight rules. Mythics. Stormreaver's Cavort. This set can now be used in no-proc Cyrodiil campaigns. Awesome. Overland. Prisoner's Rags. Fix an issue where this set would fail to persist if you bar swat while sprinting. Skooma Smuggler. This set now requires you to be in combat to gain its effects. PvP sourced. Coward's Gear. Fix an issue where this set would fail to persist if you're bar swapped while sprinting. Crutcher's Bomb. Increase the cooldown of this set's cleanse to 30 seconds, up from 15. We're increasing the cooldown in hopes that this set no longer is such a hard counter to damage over time focus builds, where it still help ease the pressure and demand attackers to recast more frequently, while ensuring it is slightly longer cooldown than most of these effects have for duration. So, great change, in my opinion. Mara's was running rampant in PvP for too long. It's about time that it was reined in. Even though it was a cooldown nerf, still going to be decently strong. However, a lot of people are going to be moving over to Hyssop. Plague Brave. This set now only attempts to apply itself to enemy players rather than any enemy. Note that its explosion can still damage and be amplified by nearby non-players. This change was made to correct the behavior we've been seeing in PvP areas, where you could apply this set effect to entities such as pets or guards that lacked critical knowledge of how to counterplay the mechanics introduced. This also hits the truly creative uses of set in PvE, where we've seen some humorous videos that wipe out entire dungeons with relative ease, which we appreciate the ingenuity. It was slightly overperforming. So, unfortunate change for PvE, great change for PvP. I'd like to see them separate it with Battle Spirit. They've done it with Rallying Cry, so they could definitely do it with Plague Break. Twin Sisters fix an issue where this set did not obey line of sight rules. Then Trial. Eye of Navintas fixed an issue where this set was reducing the cost of sprint. Infallible Mage. This set's bonus with heavy attacks now only works against monsters. Now that's it for itemization. I think that's it entirely for PvP sets, or I should say sets in general, for the patch notes. A lot of fixes and improvements, of course. Dungeon changes. We'll go ahead with this. Alright, Lair Marsalok. Change the Eyes to the Sky achievement award credit for defeating Marsalok without any member of your group being affected by Blight Ball. Bug fix, I guess. Change the Garden Master achievement to award by defeating Azurblight Lurcher while it was enraged by Marsalok's Blighted Ground on veteran difficulty. The Marsalok in flight. Gadnalon now shouts less frequently. Marsalok no longer strafes the encounter space and has had his flight speed increased. Okay then, no longer strafes. Interesting. Increase the damage of the Blight Ball and now casts more regularly. Marsalok now leaves Blighted Ground behind after bombarding the Azurblight Lurcher. The Azurblight Lurcher now spends less time idle between attacks and no longer slows itself when attacking. Increase the damage of the Azurblight Lurcher Claw ability. Reduce the damage of the Seeds of Corruptions and added associated visual indicator. Moongrave Vein. Player pets can no longer attack Hemo Helots. Nice. Honestly, I think that's it. Yes, that is the end of the patch notes. If you enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch immediately after this video goes live, so please join me over there. Links will be in the video description. If you're interested in looking at builds, you can head to xGamxHQ.com. I primarily focus on tank builds, but I've been branching out into healer builds and PvP builds as well. Anyway, I'm xGamxHQ. Y'all have a wonderful day.